What's the tea? Welcome everyone to Trust and Trade, your weekly glimpse into hot topics in the world of antitrust and consumer protection.
Welcome and thank you for joining us for this episode of the ABA's Trust and Trade podcast. My name is Hartmut Schneider. I'm the Section of Antitrust Law's International Officer, and I'm delighted to welcome Alexandre Cordeiro Macedo as our special guest today. Mr. Cordeiro is the president of the Administrative Council for Economic Defense, better known as CADE, the Brazilian antitrust authority. And before becoming the head of CADE in July of this year, President Cordeiro was the Superintendent General of CADE for 4 years, and before that served as a commissioner at CADE. In addition to his government service, President Cordeiro is a prolific antitrust thinker and writer. He's a visiting scholar and international fellow of the Global Antitrust Institute of the Antonin Scalia Law School here in the Washington, D.C. area. He's a professor at federal universities in Brazil and abroad, and his articles have been published widely, including here in the U.S., where he's also lectured at Harvard Law School and Northwestern University. Welcome, President Cordeiro. It's a real pleasure to have you.
Thank you very much, Hartmut. It's a pleasure for me. I want to thank you, ABA, for inviting me, and I really glad to do this because show a little bit what CADE has been doing for the past years. It's a pleasure. So thank you very much.
I want to start out, President Cordeiro, by congratulating you on receiving another 4-star rating from Global Competition Review. I think it's the 9th year running. It really shows that CADE is counted among the top antitrust enforcement agencies around the world, and is a great recognition of your work and the work of your predecessors at CADE. So congratulations for that. You were appointed, President Cordeiro, to become the president of CADE in June, July of this year. So it's been almost 6 months. What's the experience been so far as president?
Thank you, Hartmut, for the question. So I understand that my current mandate is the continuity of a long path within CADE, which started in 2015 as a commissioner, as you said, and later as a general superintendent in 2017. During this period, I was able to grasp the big picture of the role played by the Brazilian Antitrust Authority and the significant challenge ahead of us regarding our mission to promote competition. Now, as a president, I must also look after CADE's institutional duties and interests, which require a constant dialogue, both inside the authority. For instance, with the general superintendents and the commissioners, as well as outside of it, with civil society, other Brazilian public authorities, fellow antitrust agencies, and international competition forums. During the past month, our focus was to convey a clear message involving our antitrust approach for the next years. We will continue to follow the best practice available for antitrust assessment based on the consumer welfare standard, providing legal certainty for the Brazilian competition environment. We know that there is a long way to go and many important challenges for the Brazilian antitrust agenda. But I'm really convinced that this message will be essential for CADE's policy development and evaluation during the next few years of my presidency.
Thank you. And I mentioned at the outset that before becoming the president of CADE, you have a long institutional history with CADE, and among other things, you were the superintendent at CADE before becoming the president. Tell us a bit about how your role as president compares to the superintendent, and perhaps also for our listeners who are not as familiar with how CADE is organized, how the two positions relate to each other.
Yeah, Hartmut, it's a completely different job, actually, if you compare general superintendent, president, and also a commissioner. The role is different. Are part of the same institution, we know that is the same institution, but the role is completely different. The general superintendent manages a large number of cases. Most of them are an early stage, constantly require more information from the parties involved. In the case of mergers, for example, or investigation as well, when it comes to uncompetitive conduct. It is also worthy noting that vast majority of antitrust cases are authorized at the superintendent's level and therefore do not require court review. The administrative tribunal, in turn, receives a smaller share of antitrust cases presented to CADE through the superintendents. But such cases often involve stronger competition concerns that requires a decision by a decision-making body. As I have mentioned previously, in addition to the antitrust assessment itself, the president is also responsible for speaking on behalf of CADE as antitrust authority. It requires maintaining and improving communication with different counterparts. So at the end of the day, the general superintendency is the place where everything starts. The investigations, the lenience, down raids, and the majority of the staff is in the general superintendent. The president represents also CADE, but also is a member of the tribunal. We don't hold cases. The president doesn't hold cases, but vote and represent also the authorities. I can say that there is two different institutions inside of CADE, the general superintendent and the tribunal, and they are completely independent. You can say that the front door general superintendent, and when you are leaving CADE, part of those main cases or more complex cases has to live through the tribunal.
So that means when I have a complex case in front of CADE, I want to be in good hands, both with the superintendent and with the presidency. That's very helpful to know. President Cordeiro, you started your position as president and previously worked as the superintendent in challenging times because of the pandemic that we've all been dealing with. How has the agency been coping with that environment?
So since the beginning of the COVID-19 pandemic, CADE has moved quickly to ensure the continuity of its duty, including merger assessment and anti-competitive conduct investigations. In part, this was because CADE already had effective online tools, such as online merger submissions or leniency agreement proposal, thereby obviating the need for face-to-face contact between agency staff and lawyers. We continued to improve this set of tools, which the new online platforms for leniency agreement is a recent example. Our administrative department has also developed a successful remote working program, which has enabled CADE to reconcile the authorities' duty and the integrity of its staff with respect to COVID-19. The majority of our staff is still working from home, but it has not changed our working method, as both internal and external meetings, assessment, and other diligence are still being conducted regularly, although through a different online channel. Also, Hartmut, the exception regarding this matter would be the reduction of evidence collection based on methods such as down raids and other similar procedures that involve physical presence of our personnel. However, CADE also relies on other means to gather relevant information, such as its screening tools and its lenience program that may assist the authorities in conducting its investigation. Also, of course, there is no denying that human contact is a significant element of team synergy, and it will be necessary to restore face-to-face working dynamics to some extent. But this pandemic episode has shown that organizations, especially public ones, must be ready to adapt to contingencies and continue to provide their service to stakeholders and also the society in general.
Thank you for sharing that experience with us. And I think we all have great respect for how agencies around the world, including CADE, have been able to maintain their enforcement and regulatory activities in this difficult situation. President Cordeiro, your term started in the summer of this year, speaking from a Northern Hemisphere perspective, and it runs until about July 2025. Tell us a bit about your priorities for the next couple of years as the president of the institution.
Our list of priorities for the next 4 years includes promoting the dialogue of the authority in general, and the presidency in particular, both internally and externally. Within the authority, we must work to enhance steady, transparent, and objective channel of communication with the commissioners and also the general superintendents. From external perspective, CADE must send a clear message to antitrust practitioners, companies, and also individuals by working to build a reliable body of precedents on relevant competition subjects. This will only be possible, Hartmut, if the authority continues to build an international agenda for antitrust cooperation based on bilateral and multilateral exchanges with other antitrust authorities, specialized and also in specialized forums for competition. There is also many priorities and also big challenge that we will face for the next 4 years. And here I'm talking about the economic situation that not just Brazil, but the world is facing right now because of the pandemic. You can see inflation abroad, you can see a lot of things happen. And as we're a developed country, we feel this crisis more than others. And I think that CADE can be a very important institution related or regarding to trying to develop the economy and help through the competition tools.
President Cordeiro, you are known to have very strong views about fundamental questions of antitrust enforcement. One topic in particular that I wanted to ask you about is the consumer welfare standard in antitrust. Here in the US and in other countries around the world, there is a lively debate about whether antitrust and competition law enforcement should do more than focus on traditional consumer welfare in the form of lower prices, better quality, more innovation, and so on, and should expand its perspective perhaps to things like labor and employment and other societal issues. Where do you see that discussion going, and where do you stand personally, and why?
Yeah, Hartmut, this is a very important point, and everybody are talking this issue abroad. So I have been saying that we're facing a very important challenge, and most of that is because the innovations and the digital economy and the world is changing, and also the way to look for competition, the way that the authorities are looking to promote competition are also changing. And this happened because we need solutions, and everybody is, crazy to find this kind of solutions. And I used to say that it's not in times of crisis is not the best time to do big changes. I think that we also have to think to be more conservative, step back, and see what is going on first. And I'm talking about the Brazilian perspective. So our market is completely different from the United States, from Europe. And I think that we have to look to the more mature jurisdictions in order to learn what they are doing, because the market is also more advanced in terms of digital economy. So if you look to the Brazilian market, we don't have a Brazilian big tech. And so it's put us out of this dispute between geopolitical and economic standards that the United States, Europe, and everybody in China are, facing abroad. So Brazil it's looking, and let's see what's going to happen around, and what should we, do with our market here and defend the competition inside of Brazil. That's the role that CADE has to play. But also, there is a lot of things happen about what is the goal of antitrust. If we're still in consumer welfare standard, or we should move to more modern or more neo-Brandesian way to look to the economy or to competition. And this is not a new thing as well. If you look to the history, we have been before Chicago School have been talking about 1560s. We've been talking about political elements, social issues, environment, and other things inside of the antitrust analysis. So, and the new way that we are trying to do this again is many of the time is looking for the quality of the products. So people are not, when people say, okay, I want a price, I want a quality of products and price. That's what we're looking for all the time when we're doing antitrust analysis. But look, listen to me, antitrust guys, usually they don't like to go for the quality because they don't know how to measure that. And it's a very uncertainty. But at this new time, when we're talking about environment, they say that, okay, I want a quality, and also a product that there is a sustainability, take care of the environment, and this is important for the consumer. That is the discussion. And the challenge is, do you have any tools to measure that? Can we take care of the labor market with antitrust tools today? So I'm very worried about this, because I don't think that we have these tools. I don't think that we are the best institution to do it. And I'm not saying that is not important issues, sustainability, labor, social issues, and everything is very important, especially for Brazil. But I think that there is other institutions more specialized and more with more enforcement, and also with more experience to hold these issues and take care of this than antitrust authorities. The problem is, if you're trying to embrace the world and saying that antitrust agents has to do everything. I think this is a kind of running very short, and we don't have arms or legs to do it for a long time. And I can say more. I think that our decisions will be more subjective, more abstract, and I think that we can lose quality of those decisions because it's a Pandora box, in my opinion. We don't know where we're gonna get. We know that we're trying to look for solutions, but we don't know which problem it is actually and what kind of solution we're looking for. So I tend to be more conservative and hold, maintain the welfare standard analysis, the consumer welfare standard analysis, and say, okay, let's look for the consumers. Okay, but I can put sustainability inside of quality of the product. But this is not changing anything because we're like looking for quality and take care of the quality for the past like 30, 40, 50 years. Now we're trying to give a new address, a new format, and putting more things inside of the quality. And the problem is we don't have tools to do this yet. And I think that is not the role that the antitrust authority has to play.
Thank you. That gives your agency very clear direction for its activities. You mentioned, President Cordeiro, a number of times the digital platform space and the big technology companies. And CADE has been an active contributor to the debate about how to apply the antitrust laws to the digital platform. I read with great interest that Brazil is actually the second fastest growing app market in the world. So it has very significant implications for the economy and for users as a whole. You've published a number of studies as an agency on digital platform markets. Among other things, a study recently on digital platform markets in August of 2021, which I believe reviews CADE's case law in this area. Tell us a bit about what that study found and how it fits into your enforcement priorities.
Hartmut, CADE constantly issues report and other informative material in order to provide stakeholders of the competition environment with clear and relevant information about CADE's ruling and academic debates on competition matters. This year, our Department of Economic Studies also released a report on markets in digital platforms. The report is part of a broader set of publication on market studies called Notes of CADE. And also the report on digital platforms approach several topics, including relevant aspects of concept of digital market, the relationship between competition, data protection, and net neutrality, relevant discussions about market definition, competition concerns and deficiencies on specific digital segments, and most important, CADE's recent precedents regarding both mergers and uncompetitive conduct in digital markets. The digital market analyzed by the referred report, Hartmut, includes digital music, online retail, food delivery, and individual transport segment, among many others. Last year, CADE has also released a working paper approaching competition in digital markets based on a review of specialized reports. The paper, co-authored by our Deputy Superintendent, Mrs. Sarkovsky, explored several dimensions of digital markets, including market definition, the relevance of data as an input for companies, and market power considerations on digital market. Although CADE's informative publications do not bind the authority's decision for further antitrust assessment, they provide the stakeholders with a reliable and well-structured source of precedents on CADE's decision, as well as relevant subjects that may be part of further analysis on cases involving digital markets.
Thank you. One element of enforcement activity in the digital space that I'm particularly interested in is mergers and acquisitions, antitrust analysis of M&A in the digital space, where companies with digital activities, for example, platforms, are expanding by acquiring other companies in the same space. I know CADE has had experience in that area as well. Tell us a bit about the cases that you've looked at and what your experience has been.
Okay, we have many cases involving digital economy. First, I just wanted to highlight that I don't see like digital economy as a sector, because everybody's talking about the sector of digital economy. Digital economy is a tool. It's getting in whatever sector it is, food market, transportation, industry in generally, service in general, hospitals. Everything now is digital. Digital is instrument, especially with the 5G coming in. It's going to be like electricity, and we will see this in everywhere. So, and we have a lot of sectors that is very intensive in digital and data and information and innovation and technology. We had a online retail sector that we had a merge case that calls Zappi and OLX. It's important retail platform. We had also Nike buying Centauro. Centauro is a bunch of stores, sports stores in Brazil, the most important one in that time. We also had a bank buying the biggest fintech in Brazil. One of the biggest bank in Brazil was buying XP, that is a agency of investment and also fintech, very disruptive. And this case was a very important case in Brazil because XP was like pushing the banks in getting and bringing more competition for the markets with innovation, with disruptive things. Very easy to open an account, and the relations all by app, and it was very easy to maintain this contact with the new bank. And they were like also bringing to the market new ways to invest and bringing individuals, and not rich but normal and regular individuals, to invest in the stock markets also in Brazil. So they're bringing technology and innovation. And also we had Google cases here that talking about conduct. We have many cases of Google. We have Uber cases. We had iFood, that is a delivery food with a contract of exclusivity with many restaurants, and this is a case that also is going on in Brazil. And we did an injunction in order to stop the exclusivity. So it's Hartmut, it's so many cases, and for sure that in each case we have all those problems or all the changes of define relevant market, if you know how to define, and it's different of the traditional economies to define relevant market in digital economy. So you have to do more scenarios. You have two-sided markets, you have multi-sided markets. Look for every way and directions to do scenarios, and you choose one that is more conservative regarding to the consumers and also the competition.
President Cordeiro, it's been fascinating speaking with you today about the agency, your leadership, and the experience that you've had in enforcement matters. I certainly look forward to continuing to follow CADE's activities in the coming years under your presidency. Thank you again for joining us on this podcast today.
Thank you, Hartmut. I want to also thank your ABA and you for your time and to invite me to be part of this podcast. For me, it's a pleasure. CADE is a very open and transparent agency, and for us to speak a little bit of our work and what we have been doing, it's a really pleasure, and I'm glad of that. Thank you very much.
We hope you enjoyed this episode of Trust and Trade, brought to you as always by the Antitrust Law Section of the American Bar Association. Now you know that's the T.